performance. Today we have a seat Leon T here, which is getting a stage 3. Optimization from us has everything possible, modified, turbocharger, intercooler, basically everything you can imagine. The fuel pump is new. Injectors are installed. The goal is around 400 HP. We have to be careful with the transmission. It doesn't handle too much. It can only handle about 420 Newton meters. Yes, we'll do that. It already has a stage 1 on it. There's also a hard cut limiter in it.
You can really hear the turbo.
The customer said everything should stay in. Let's see if that works, because I'd like to make it stock first and then build up from stock. We will do the initial measurement with the stage 1 that's currently on it, then put on an original, do an initial measurement with that to have a comparison, and then we'll run logs, and based on the logs we'll create a base map and start building from there regarding the overrun cutoff.
Yes, in a way it's questionable, right?
Exactly. I would also like to share my opinion on that.
I don't want to do that now.
Let's do it now. Let's find a quiet spot, and then you can just say what you want. But I don't think it's very quiet there, because that's where the scrapyard is. But we can also go over there. Yeah, come on, let's go to the scrapyard. Then it'll warm up, and I can do something great right away. And then we'll see. There's always something.
Either I trip, yeah, you pinch your fingers, or I stub my toe.
If that goes wrong, I'm in trouble.
Right now, just like that.
Wow, I have it on video. And I don't think it looks comfortable. That translates completely wrong. Yeah, the topic of HIBERT shifting. My opinion. Yeah, you can do it, but not this exaggerated way over the entire rev range. Firstly, I think it's absolutely terrible for the engine, for the valves, for the catalytic converter, and the entire exhaust system. Maybe also a bit for the turbocharger, but that's just the opinion regarding the harm to the engine. The opinions on catalytic converters differ completely. They go along with it to a certain extent. Out of the hundreds of overrun cutoffs we've done by now, I would claim that 3 have broken, as far as I know. If I think about it now, the CLS 500 was the second one, but it doesn't matter at all. I know of 2, or at most 3 catalytic converters that have broken due to an overrun cutoff that we programmed. That's why the issue of catalytic converters breaking is a big topic with overrun cutoff, but for me, it's rather secondary. Usually they don't break 2 or 3 out of hundreds. It's okay, manageable, I would say. Valves also have a bit of trouble with overrun cutoff because the heat runs through the valve, so to speak. The valve doesn't close and can't dissipate the heat. Accordingly, all the heat produced by an overrun cutoff is completely passed through the valve, and the valve cannot transfer it to the cylinder head and cool down directly. As a result, it can also happen that valves break. In my opinion, this only happens if you really overdo it. If you have an overrun cutoff that, let's say, has a negative ignition angle and it goes across the entire RPM range, and you keep going up and down with it, making it pop here and there, then something like this happens.
Many really overdo it sometimes. They don't even stop pressing the gas pedal.
Yes, exactly. And the main thing is again, even if the delay time is set to 1.5 or 1 second, so it only pops for 1 second, people go back on the gas, so it goes back into overrun cutoff and pops again.
But if I may ask you something, I was just about to ask, but if I may ask you something, isn't the problem actually more between the driver's seat and the steering wheel rather than the overrun cutoff? Because if I were to do that with a stock car all the time, it would get hot too, wouldn't it? That's not good for it either.
Or I would have to look for data sets where I have it with a stock overrun cutoff. The stock overrun cutoffs are, I don't know right now. I would have to look it up, but they are probably 15 ignition timing. Not much happens there. But a marked overrun cutoff with one or another tuner then has to develop minus. There we already have double the degree of opening, or not the degree of opening, but ignition after TDC. And the more we go into ignition after TDC, the more open the valve is. and the louder the overrun cutoff becomes. That can be explained roughly to that extent. What I find problematic regarding overrun cutoffs is a permanent overrun cutoff. The people who just drive through the village, let's say at 10 p.m. and race through having to make noise all the time, with switchable overrun cutoffs, you can turn it off, and then we don't have the problem. Accordingly, I always prefer a switchable overrun cutoff. If I were to say have a car and I wanted an overrun cutoff, I actually wouldn't want it, except maybe for 0.5 seconds. That's really it. You let off the gas, it goes boom, boom, goodbye. You don't need more than that. I have gone off the path a little.
Let me think for a moment. Wait a moment. Calculate it again? No.
Exactly. Permanent thrust estimation. Yes. Doesn't have to be. If I had a car and I wanted a thrust cutoff and there was no cutoff, then I would leave it. Sure, you can set a delay time in some cars, and then it's really just bam bam, and also only permanently bam bam, but then you don't have to overdo it.
What would you say, which is more likely, quick cut or valve?
Cut? 100%. Well, then I would have already had it happen to me that someone's exhaust valve burned out. I haven't had that so far. So the chance of an exhaust valve burning out is almost zero, I would almost claim. However, it can happen. What I can also say is if you have an extremely exaggerated overrun cutoff, it might be that the pista continuously injects fuel. It might be that the oil film, the oil lubrication film in the cylinder bore tears off. Then you have an engine shock. We continue with the seat stage 3. The video will also be online in the coming days. And I hope I was able to explain everything regarding the overrun cutoff. My opinion on this is, do it if you do it, then do it wisely and only a little.
And don't annoy people. Exactly. Because that's really the worst.
The thing is, I experience it here in my area when I have to take a test drive with it. When I do an overrun cutoff, then... Yes, let's go inside first. So, what I've noticed in the past is when I have to do a test drive with an overrun cutoff, I try on a large scale. And then I provoke it a little bit. I often get people giving me the bird when I go on a test drive with it. And I'm also a little bit afraid that I might annoy my neighbors a bit with it. That also happens if you overdo it yourselves. Therefore, think it through well. Do it wisely and don't do it everywhere. When is the video about the seat coming out? On Sunday, right? Okay, then you'll see this video about the seat this Sunday.
Do you want to give us a little preview? Show what?
We can do a pull. We'll do a pull, it's warm now. Then we can take the pull with us. We'll do a pull, but the stage 1 that's on it, the performance data, you'll see in the next video.
Okay.
Let's do it. 1, going.